Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Flood. As Canadian voters prepare to head to the polls next month, City of Thunder Bay officials are already looking ahead to the 2022 municipal election, and local residents will have one fewer option by which to cast their ballot. The city is doing away with telephone voting. Just 2,100 people voted by phone in 2018. That's only 2.6% of eligible voters and 5.1% of the 41,000 ballots that were cast that year. That leaves online and in person as the two remaining options. Online voting accounted for more than half of all the votes cast 3 years ago, with nearly 24,000 voters choosing that option. A little over 15,000 voted in person, and given the prevalence of the online voting, the question came up at the most recent City Council meeting: does Thunder Bay need as many polling stations as in years past?
The numbers of people that are online voting is going to increase again, would be my gut feeling, is that we have, instead of having a large number of sites to vote at, that we have major large sites, and that's all we use.
It's always been our commitment to ensure that we have at least one polling station per ward to ensure accessibility for walkability, for accessibility for busing, not to urge people to travel too far. Certainly, we are doing a full review of all of the locations used in 2018 with accessibility in mind, also with distancing, and again, any potential COVID impacts, but appreciate the comment from the councillor that potentially there may be some savings there in putting people in larger areas, but wanting to make sure we know a little bit more about where we're at with the pandemic before we make that decision.
Well over 100,000 residents of the Thunder Bay District are fully vaccinated, and the Mental Officer of Health says they continue to see steady numbers of first and second doses. Vaccine numbers may have dropped from their peak in the early summer, but Dr. Janet DeMille says she's encouraged to see that people in all age groups were getting immunized last week. Most of the people heading to the CLE clinic are walk-ins, although some are still booking appointments. With the Bora Laskin building now transformed back into use for Lakehead University, DeMille says the vaccine site at the CLE will remain in place until COVID-19 vaccines are no longer needed.
We know that a lot of people have access through that clinic. So as long as people are really coming forward, we plan to keep that open. And we have a very good working relationship with the CLE and an arrangement with them. And certainly as we plan and look forward, we continue to work with them and would like to keep that space available.
The health unit continues to give out a consistent rate of first doses, with about a quarter of all immunizations being first-timers. And as they look to fill gaps in their vaccine coverage, more clinics will be held in rural communities. Meanwhile, the Aircraft Rescue Division at the Thunder Bay Airport has some shiny new emergency equipment. The new fire trucks came with a price tag of $2 million and are now being tested out by the fire crews. William Dougal has more.
The firefighters at the Thunder Bay International Airport are jumping for joy as replacements for their 1994 Oshkosh fire trucks have arrived. The Thunder Bay Airport Authority put out a tender in 2019 to replace their aging fire trucks and accepted their final bid from Rosenbauer America. Manager of Airport Services Ryan Brading says that due to changes in federal legislature, Ottawa was able to play a big role in acquiring these new vehicles.
We were able to work with Transport Canada, and we were able to receive a fund called ACAP. It's the Airport Capital Improvement Program. We've never been eligible for ACAP before, and with some parameters that were amended by Transport Canada, these trucks came fully funded by the federal government to the tune of just over $2 million.
The 36,000-pound vehicles come equipped with a wide selection of tools that make the response by the firefighting team more dynamic and high-tech compared to their typical abilities. New additions include a light tower, a remote-controlled FLIR camera, 2 mounted turrets, and a whopping 1,500-gallon water tank. Operations Specialist Morgan Moore explains the benefits of the new gadgets.
FLIR cameras now installed up on the roof of the trucks, so thermal imaging cameras allows us to get a good scene size up when approaching a scene. Our bumper turret there, it's called an HRET turret, so it actually extends downwards towards the ground to allow you a lower base of attack when attacking such fuel fires or whatnot, or any type of incident that would occur underneath an aircraft. So say you have a fuel spill and you want to put a foam blanket onto it in order to cover it, more or less mitigate the chance of it igniting.
The impressive vehicles behind me will be in full operation following a month-long training session. William Dougal, TBT News.
The Wake the Giant Music Festival is receiving some extra help to get back on stage following the pandemic. The big concert is set for next month at Marina Park after it had to be canceled last year due to COVID-19. The Thunder Bay Community Economic Development Commission and Tourism Thunder Bay have announced they will be providing $50,000 in funding towards the Wake the Giant Music Festival. The money was collected through the Municipal Accommodation Tax Program, which aims to stimulate tourism events in Thunder Bay. Wake the Giant will be the first major concert event in Thunder Bay since the pandemic began, signaling the beginning of a return to normalcy. The concert will be held on September 18th, headlined by Jesse Reyes and Third Eye Blind. And while the global pandemic has created a massive economic hiccup all over the world, Marathon's economy continues to grow. The most recent developments includes a new coffee franchise on the site of the town's former shopping mall, and Adam Riley has those details.
One of the worst kept secrets in Marathon is no longer a secret. As it has been confirmed, a beloved Canadian coffee institution is coming to the community. Contractors have started foundation work for a Tim Hortons on the former DH Foods mall property, which was bulldozed earlier this year.
We did a story on where we had the back taxes, it became a derelict building, unsafe to the community, so we tore it down, and now we have a developer looking at developing Tim Hortons, and it's under construction as we speak, and hoping to have it done late fall of 2021.
Dumas says for the better part of a decade, Marathon has been trying to secure another national chain like Tim Hortons. And while, yes, it will be competing with other national chains and local businesses, Dumas believes it will only make things better in the community.
I've said before, and I'll say it again, and I talk to the business owners in our community. Business drives business, so the more you can pull people off the highway, the more it'll enhance the community itself.
But Tim's coming to town isn't the only thing further driving business. Ballard Construction, the company that has been tasked with building the east-west tie, a project worth almost $1 billion, has extended its lease to several properties in the community, including the former mill property being used as a laydown yard for new towers, a garage for storage and repairs to Ballard equipment, and the former school property, which acts as a base camp for the 300 employees working on the project.
By all means, it's helped all of our business community, and I think all the business community is very thankful for the fact that they come to the municipality, they did all this great work and assisted all the businesses in the community to whether it's restaurant, gas, groceries, any aspect of your hotels, your rentals, your apartments. It's just amazing. We thank Valor and all their employees. They've been a great asset to the community and very, very welcome by all residents. They've been just basically as a resident of our community for the last year and a half, almost 2 years now.
The east-west tie is expected to be operational by the end of next March. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Thunder Bay's Injured Workers Support Group hosted a media conference earlier this week in response to the provincial government's consideration to distribute WSIB surpluses to employers. The province's plan comes after the WSIB eliminated its unfunded liability in 2019, which is the gap between projected future costs and current funds. The unfunded liability rose as high as $14.2 billion in 2011. Jana Patterson, the president of the Ontario Network of Injured Workers Groups, says these surpluses should be redirected into the injured workers' compensation system.
On behalf of all workers, you, our government, must demand that the WSIB abolish all practices that are harmful to injured or ill workers and fulfill their legislative obligations. Only then can they look at any real surplus funds and, in true spirit of the historic compromise, create best practices to improve the lives for all workers who suffer injuries.
Advocates, including healthcare workers, have called for investigations of the WSIB, saying they far too often blame pre-existing conditions in order to reduce benefits. And the Waterfront got a touch-up today with Earth Care and Eco Superior teaming up to host the Litter Cleanup Day, which saw locals come together to clean up the marina. The cleanup took place from 9 a.m. to 12 noon and was located near the marina office, where they handed out tools to grab the litter and collection bags. What's collected is recorded on data cards to find out which items are the most littered in town, so they can hopefully see some change in the community. Program Coordinator for Eco Superior, Melissa Davidson, outlines which areas you can see the most litter.
It really depends on where you are. So in a space like the marina, it is pretty well kept, but there are areas, especially where the waves crash in, where litter can kind of accumulate on the shoreline and things like that. So it really depends on a lot of things, but even something like small, like a cigarette butt, we're actually finding lots of those down here today.
A new addition to the cleaning supplies was also added, called the Sea Bin, that sits off of the pier collecting litter that floats to the surface, which is an initiative of the Great Lake Plastic Cleanup. Coordinator for Earth Care Amy Coombs says these sea bins are a great addition to clean the waterfront.
The Great Lakes are a life source for many organisms and fish and everything. We really want to know what's getting in there, because if the fish are accumulating that, we want to know what kind of litter's in the lake and try and keep that out of our lake systems.
This coming week, Eco Superior will be going along the North Shore doing a cleaning, along with the yearly Spring Up to Cleanup program in partnership with the City of Thunder Bay. Joined now with Kurt Black, just another great local initiative here for Thunder Bay, helping out the environment a little bit. And speaking of environment, Kakabeka Falls, Kurt, heard there was a half marathon going on there today.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex, and records were dropped.